Hey, what's up? It's Wednesday on Golden State Boulevard, and the topic for the week is dysphoria. Well, I think that anybody who identifies as something outside the gender binary can certainly appreciate how much dysphoria sucks. Just in case you're unfamiliar with the term, dysphoria is essentially the feeling of not belonging in your own body, looking in the mirror, and it's not like looking in the mirror and not being happy with what you see in a very general sense, because it's not really about like, oh, my nose is too big or too small, or my eyes could be wider apart, closer together, etc., etc. It's more so like looking in the mirror and thinking, I am a boy, why do I have breasts? This sucks, because they don't belong there. Um, Dysphoria is something that I've had a really, really bad time with. Um, Before I was 13, I didn't have any dysphoria at all, nothing really. Granted, I hadn't hit puberty. There were no crazy emotions and crazy other things happening to me yet. Um, and so that wasn't something I had a problem with, but as soon as puberty hit, it hit me hard. And I suddenly had things growing on my chest that weren't there before. And I didn't like them, and I didn't know what to do with them. And for years, I had a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to even manage them. I can't even begin to tell you how many dressing rooms I went into, how many stores I visited, how many places I went with my mom, who, bless her, was there with me through the whole thing, to try to figure out how to make me feel good about this. And nothing worked. Nothing worked. Like, there would momentarily be something like, oh, that looks better, or whatever, but then it just all sort of fell apart after a while, and I would just be unhappy again. Then I discovered binding, which helped, and it has helped quite a bit. I've calmed much more down with regards to chest dysphoria. That being said, there are still days that are pretty bad, and also the days that I don't bind, oh, those are the worst, especially now that I've started, because, I've seen how it can be, and so it's really difficult to go back and then wear, God forbid, I wear a bra or something. Closest I've gotten to that in quite some time was a sports bra, and that was something. Um, when I was preparing for this video, I just kind of wrote down some bullet points of what dysphoria is for me, and the reason why it's such a big part of my life, even though it's gotten a lot better. And as I was reading it back to myself, I realized that I think I went off on a rather poetic tangent. I wasn't trying to. I'm not really a poet. So it's not a poem. It was really a list. But I realized that the way I wrote it kind of is like a poem. So don't take it as such. Dysphoria is the reason why getting dressed in the morning stresses me out, why I change my shirt 5 or 10 times and still am not happy with what I see reflected back at me. Dysphoria is the reason why I lay on my boyfriend's lap and cried so many times. Dysphoria is the reason why I can't breathe. I've bound my problems too tightly to my chest. Dysphoria is the reason I've lost myself in books and movies. Dysphoria is the reason why I have to go under the knife. Dysphoria is the reason why I have sex with my shirt on and still feel ashamed. Dysphoria is the reason why I stare enviously at the endless parade of male bodies walking by. Dysphoria is the reason why, in my mind's eye, I always see a smooth-chested, masculine doppelganger me. And that, in and of itself, is really a very good list for me as far as what my dysphoria causes in my life and what aspects it affects. I really like clothes and I really like fashion, but dysphoria oftentimes takes the fun out of that for me. Instead of it being 5 to 10 shirts because I'm trying to pick out an outfit, it's more so like 5 to 10 shirts because I can't find one that looks right. I can't find one that makes me feel comfortable. crying on my boyfriend's lap. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've done that, just because something sets me off and just puts me in this really horrible place. We were going to a party one time, and I had to get dressed, and I couldn't do it. Nothing looked right. Nothing looked good, and I completely fell apart, and I felt really bad for him, but there was nothing I could do about it, and it took me a long time to calm myself down. I stare at every boy that walks past me, and I'm sure they think that's probably a little weird, but I do. I can't help it. I can't help but always compare myself to them and think, wow, you know, if I looked like that, ... I never wanted to have to get surgery, which is kind of an unrealistic expectation, I suppose, for life, but I never wanted to get surgery. I never wanted to have to do that, but I really feel like that's the only way that I'm going to make myself feel better, that I'm going to solve this problem for myself. And I wish that there was a different way, certainly a cheaper way, but there's not. And I've come to terms with that, and it's definitely an unexpected life event that's going to have to take place. I think the other ones are kind of, I can't think of the English word, selbstverständlich. They're self-explanatory. And so I'm not really going to address them, but if you have any lists or reasons why dysphoria is a big part of your life, I feel like it does help to write them down, because then you realize the things that you can and you can't overcome. I know that even though I'm not happy about having to get surgery, that's something that I can actively do that's helpful for me. Even just looking into it, regardless of whether I get that done this year or in 5 years. These are things I actively have control over, and I think that when a person is depressed, because dysphoria is definitely a gateway into depression. It is, I understand, and I applaud everybody who has managed to deal with it thus far. I think that that's wonderful that you're still here and you're dealing with it, because it really does suck. I've been there. And I've sort of lost my train of thought, but essentially that's what I wanted to say about it. So if you are dealing with dysphoria and you write it out, you don't have to share it with anybody. Feel free to share it if you want to, but I think it's just good to get those emotions out so you can really see the things that you have control over and the things that you don't. It's just like the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to, how does it go? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I think that's how it goes. And I do try to live by that, because I think that once you realize that you can't change certain things, but you can change other ones, your focus shifts to the things you can deal with, and that in and of itself, just the act of actively doing something to help yourself, does help make you feel better, or at least it has worked for me. So I would advise anybody to at least give that a try and see if it helps, and let me know how it goes for you. And I'm there for you, and I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'll catch you next Wednesday. Take care.